Hello friends, my name is Bintou and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a November TBR. So we are in the month of Thanksgiving, but also apparently I didn't know that Nonfiction November was a thing, and I had already had 2 nonfiction books on my list, so why not knock them out this month? So in this video, I want to talk about some of the books that I hope to get through this book. Some of the books that I hope to get through this month. I've got 4 books on this list so far. I've been averaging about 10 books a month for the past 2 or 3 months. So I know I'll read more than this, but these are the 4 that I want to get through. So the first book on my list is November's most anticipated new release, and that is Rhythm of War by Brandon Sanderson. I have been looking forward to this book for a very, very long time. Basically since I finished Oathbringer. One of my goals, and this was back in August, I had hoped to re-listen to the first 3 books before Rhythm of War was released, and those were some really high hopes that I just did not aspire to achieve very well. I did get through the first one, so I re-listened to the entirety of The Way of Kings, but I think one thing I realized is, first of all, these are long. These are like 50-hour audiobooks, but one thing I realized is that I remembered more of the book than I gave myself credit for, and so I just don't think that I need to re-listen to all 3 of those books to be prepared for Rhythm of War. Besides, Daniel Green, I know he has like these hour-long summaries of all of the books, so I'm just gonna go watch those in the days leading up to Rhythm of War, and then as soon as it is released on November 17th, I'm going to download it on my Kindle. The audiobook should show up in Audible because I have it pre-ordered, and I'm going to just knock that puppy out. That is a definite read for this month. I have no qualms about getting that done. And it looks like this book is going to continue to follow Kaladin and Dalinar in this war that they're waging, and apparently there are going to be more of these fews that wake up, the ones that came about in Oathbringer. It also says, from what I could read so far, is that no more honor spren are willing to bind with humans. So I guess this means that however many radiants they already have is like all the radiants that they get to fight the evil Odin. It also says that Taravangian is going to have a betrayal. So if I remember correctly, one of the things that Taravangian did was he was killing people, even though he's supposed to be this like super friendly old man. So I guess he's going to betray Dalinar, which I'm pretty sure that was being set up earlier. So we'll see what happens with that. Very much looking forward to Rhythm of War. The next 3 books on my list are going to be nonfiction books. So these are going to be my picks for Nonfiction November. The first book on that list is Hood Feminism. So I picked this up a decent while ago, and I remember I did a vlog where I had intended to read this, and I hadn't done it then, and I still haven't gotten to it. However, I just got the audiobook from my library, which means that I should be able to start this soon. There was a very, very long wait for that audiobook, much longer than I was expecting. So this is apparently a collection of essays. This is by KINDLE. It is a collection of essays, and I think it criticizes the feminist movement, particularly how it disregards things like race, class, and sexual orientation. And so I think her main argument is that basically the feminist movement only addresses the needs of a few and not the many. And I'm assuming the few focuses on white women. It also looks like in this book, she draws on some of her own experiences from her life. So I guess this is a sort of memoir as well. I'm very much looking forward to tackling this book this month. So that is Hood Feminism. I've read that, I've seen other people read this on YouTube, and also I've seen people's Goodreads, and people give this excellent review, so I know it's gonna be good. It took me a while to get the audiobook. So this is a read. This is on the list for November. Next up is Breath. This is another book that you have seen in one of my videos, because I believe I talked about this in a book haul. It's one of the books that I bought from my local bookshop. And this is another one, the audiobook. I had been on that hold list basically ever since I bought this book, and I only just got a hold of it. I don't think they have very many copies of the audiobook for this, either because it's not super popular or it is, and so the wait list is very long. I'm not sure which it is, but it took a while. So his claim in this book is that humans have forgotten the art of breathing, or how to properly breathe. Now, obviously we are still breathing as we sit here living organisms in this world. But I guess what he's trying to say is that the way we breathe is probably not the best or most efficient way of breathing. And one of the claims in this book apparently is that changing the way you breathe can have some really positive effects on your body, whether it's athletically or positive health benefits. I think it's going to be interesting to read those claims and see how he supports them. That's what I'm going to be looking for, is how well does he support those claims, because those are very bold claims to make. And I feel like I can believe some of it, but if it's like these miraculous, drastic changes that come about by simply changing the way you breathe, and there's nothing to back that up, I don't know if I would believe it to that extent. Either way, this ought to be a pretty fascinating read. So Breath is the third book on this list. And then the final book, Pharma. So I'm a little scared to put this book on this list because this is the one that I'm least sure about getting to. I do have the audiobook for this. I'm definitely going to need it. My library didn't have the audiobook for this, so I just used one of my Audible credits to get this one. But this is a thick book. And I'm not afraid of big books, but I also need to be in quite a mood to read one. And I'm already reading Rhythm of War, which is going to be like 1,000+ pages. This is about a similar length. Yeah. I will say that a decent number of pages at the end, at least 100 pages, are just notes. However, the writing's pretty small, so it's going to be a doozy. But this basically focuses on some of the pharmaceutical companies, particularly the Sackler family, and Purdue Pharma, I believe, is the company that they are responsible for, which led to the massive opioid crisis that we face in the US. I don't know why, but I have this very morose fascination of reading about the opioid crisis, because this is not my first book. It is my first book this year that deals specifically with that crisis and sort of the history behind it, but not my first book in general. But basically, he's going to follow some of the addictive products that pharmaceutical companies have created, all in the name of greed, to poison Americans. OxyContin is the, I think, primary focus here, which is what has kind of jump-started heroin addiction for many people. And I've read in a different book, so I actually know a decent amount of kind of that pathway of injury leading to some pain meds prescribed by doctors who are influenced by these pharmaceutical companies, and then people running out of those meds and turning to street drugs. But this is a very big book, so I assume there's got to be information in here that I don't know. So I'm very much looking forward to reading this. At the very least, I want to start it, even if I don't finish it this month. All right, so those are all of the books that I have on my list for November. I probably am going to read more than just 4 books this month, especially as we get into Thanksgiving break. I'll have a little bit more time off. But those are the 4 that I want to include on my list. If you're participating in Nonfiction November and you're looking for some nonfiction reading recs, I think these are good. But some books that I have read that I would recommend, strongly encourage you to check out my top 5 nonfiction books that I've read so far in 2020, because all the books on that list I would strongly recommend. In addition to One Person No Vote, which I just read in the month of October, and I talk about that in my October wrap up. That one was an excellent book to read, and this is really a great month for it. All right, guys, that is the end of my November TBR. In the comment section, let me know what books you guys are planning to read, and also let me know if you're planning to participate in Nonfiction November. Remember to like the video if you found it enjoyable, and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you all in the next one.